Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the 360 Degrees talk show here on Rwanda Television. I am your host, Olive Nete. Today, we explore a topic that is increasingly shaping the future of sustainable development and green investment, carbon markets. But before that, as Rwanda strengthens its commitment to climate action under the Paris Agreement, new opportunities are emerging to attract climate finance, support green growth, and engage both public and private sectors in building a low-carbon economy. But what exactly are carbon markets? You may need to know this. How do they work? And most importantly, is Rwanda ready to fully participate and benefit from them? To help us unpack this, I'm joined by two distinguished guests. On my right side, I have Mr. Faustin Munyazikwiye. He's the Deputy Director General of the Rwanda Environment Management Authority. Welcome, Mr. Faustin.
Thank you very much.
And on my left side, we have Ms. Caroline Reyes. She is the Rwanda country representative at the Global Green Growth Institute. You're both welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Let's start today's conversation by laying a foundation for our viewers. Mr. Faustin, for our viewers hearing for the first time, what are carbon markets?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this question. Carbon market refers to the trade of emissions avoided. When we are saying emission avoided, it means that, let me give you an example. For instance, let's take an example of cooking. When you are cooking and when you are using the 3-stone cooking, the emissions you have are so many and are different from the emissions you can have when you are cooking, for instance, using the electricity. So when you are cooking using electricity, that difference of the emission you have been emitting when you'll be using the 3 stones, that difference of emissions, when you have a ton of CO2 emissions, carbon dioxide emissions, it means that it's equivalent to carbon credit. So in terms of carbon trading or carbon market, it is coming from how much emissions we are avoiding. But these terms came from the Convention on Climate Change. When the world adopted the Kyoto Protocol in 2005, and it entered into force in 2007. Developed countries got the quota or the target of emissions they have to reduce comparing to the 1990 emissions they had. So from that time, when the developed countries saw that they cannot meet that target just to reduce the emissions, which means cutting the emissions from their industries, from different sources of emissions, they tried to think out of the box and came up with this carbon market where developing countries like Rwanda, who doesn't have a lot of emissions, where they can do activities reducing emissions, and then they can be bought by those countries, and then those countries, they can report that they have met their target without necessarily closing their factories or changing any of their business. So that's where the carbon market came from. Then it started with the Kyoto Protocol. Then after that, it came with the Paris Agreement, with Article 6. But when we are talking about carbon market, we have two types of market. We have compliance carbon market, and we have also a voluntary carbon market. When we are saying compliance carbon market, it's a market which is mainly regulated by the convention and the government. When we are talking about the voluntary carbon market, is the market which is regulated by individuals, but those individuals who have their own methodology, and then people can join on a voluntary basis without any obligation, and then they can start trading. Let me pause there, maybe.
Now, talking specifically about Rwanda, why do these markets matter to the country?
Yeah, thank you very much. This market matter a lot for the country for two reasons. The first reason is that as a country, as a party to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, we have obligations through our nationally determined contributions, which we need to meet. And carbon market is one of the areas which are helping us to meet our target of emissions we are going to avoid. Second, carbon market is the source of the climate finance. We are in the position of trading. We are not in the side of the buyer. We are selling because we are not yet reaching our target as a country, but we still have a room to do some of the activities avoiding the emissions, and then we can sell those emissions. So it's one of the source of climate finance through voluntary carbon market or through the compliance carbon market. When we talk about compliance carbon market, now in Rwanda we are using the Paris Agreement, of course, and we are using three mechanisms. We have the 6.2, which is an international cooperation framework, which is allowing a country to trade carbon, or a country or an enterprise to another enterprise to trade that carbon. So under 6.2 mechanism, all the process and procedures are managed by the countries themselves. Then we have also 6.4, which is an international mechanism of carbon trade, which is managed by the convention, where you submit all your papers to the convention, and then the board, which is sitting at the convention level, at global level, can approve your projects. And we have also the 6.8, which is a non-market approach, just for recognition. That's the three mechanism for the carbon market that Rwanda is using. But we have also the voluntary carbon market, which I said it is somehow regulated by different individual and non-state actors who have their own methodology, like a gold standard, like a VELA. Then you go through those methodology, and at the end of the day, you can be able to sell or to buy your credits.
Now to Ms. Caroline Reyes, how is the Global Green Growth Investment Institute working with Rwanda in this endeavor? What kind of support are you giving to the country to meet these targets?
Thank you for the question. Maybe allow me to say a little bit about the Global Green Growth Institute, GGGI, for the viewers who might not know us. So GGGI is an international intergovernmental organization which was established in 2012. We have about 55 member countries, and our mandate is to support those member countries to accelerate their transition towards a greener economy. And we do that in many ways. The first one is by supporting the development and establishment of green growth policies. This could be nationally determined contributions or climate action plans. It could be sectoral policies that will guide the green transition in the country. And then from those policies, we also support in designing and implementing projects to turn those policies into tangible impact on the ground. And when we talk about projects, of course, we also need means of implementation. So we support with mobilizing climate finance and green investments to implement those policies and projects. And one of the climate finance sources is carbon financing, as DGG has also mentioned, and we've been working with our member countries to support them in actively participating in carbon markets for quite some time now through different technical assistance programs, and more recently also through a carbon transaction facility that we established in 2014, and I'll share a little bit more about that later. But coming back to your question on how do we support Rwanda, as you know, Rwanda is a forerunner. We, as a country, there was a carbon market framework that was established in 2023. And our support to the government of Rwanda, mostly through the Rwanda Environment Management Authority, REMA, is to support operationalize that carbon market framework and to enhance the country's Article 6 readiness. So what does that mean? Essentially, as was just mentioned now, there are different carbon markets. Our focus is very much so on Article 6.2, and this is because we are an intergovernmental organization. So we are looking at leveraging that role as an intergovernmental organization to facilitate carbon transactions between countries. And many of these countries are member and partner countries of GGGI. So we have seller countries like Rwanda, but we also have buyer countries like Sweden or the UK, who are founding members of GGGI as well. So in terms of enhancing Article 6 readiness, what we are doing is since last year, we initiated a 2-year project where we are, first of all, supporting and enhancing the governance frameworks in the country. There's a carbon market framework, but when we talk about governance framework at GGGI, we're looking at more broadly, are there other policies, strategies, regulatory instruments needed? Are there other decision support tools needed? So we're working on strengthening that governance framework. Another key area is on capacity building. Carbon markets are still relatively new. All stakeholders, whether it's government or private sector players, need to have adequate capacity to meaningfully engage in carbon markets. So we've been delivering a series of trainings. Just last year, we trained over 60 representatives from both public and private sector. And those capacity building activities have really helped in enhancing the awareness, the knowledge, really equipping institutions with the right skills to participate in carbon markets. And we're very much looking forward to delivering additional capacity building this year as well. Another way we're supporting and enhancing carbon market readiness and Article 6 readiness is through awareness raising. So this is just going beyond the institutions that are being trained. As mentioned, our Article 6 and carbon markets are complex. And it's important that as the country embarks on this journey, that everyone, the entire general population, understands what carbon markets are, what are the opportunities, what are the risks. And so since end of last year, together with REMA, we've been rolling out an awareness raising campaign on social media. So you can follow us on our various respective social media accounts, on radio, on TV as well. So we also appreciate the airtime you're giving us today. This is part of that awareness raising. And it's been quite encouraging actually to see how people have been engaging with the content. and asking really pertinent questions. You can see there's quite a lot of interest, and I think this is also really critical for awareness raising and having the capacity to effectively engage. Another way is also beyond what I've just mentioned is working together with the Rwanda Green Fund to identify and develop a pipeline of mitigation activities. So what do we mean by mitigation activities? These are basically the carbon projects, as DDG mentioned, that reduce or remove greenhouse gas emissions, and they form the foundation of the transaction. So as a seller country, you need to have mitigation activities. And so we've been working together with the fund and other relevant line ministries, but also the private sector, because many projects will be coming from private sector as well, private sector developers. So we're looking at what type of mitigation activity or carbon project can be packaged for Rwanda to take to buyers that it's already talking to bilaterally. Rwanda has bilateral agreements with Singapore, for instance, but we also have a GGI facility, a transaction facility, where should the country wish, can also go and engage directly with buyers and trust funds. And lastly, I'll just mention another way we are working to enhance readiness is also through knowledge exchange. Last year, we facilitated a trip to Ghana, which is a country that's slightly more advanced than Rwanda when it comes to Article 6 implementation. And so we had a delegation from REMA and Rwanda Green Fund going to Ghana, a similar country in our continent, to engage with them on how they're implementing Article 6, what are the opportunities, the challenges, the lessons learned that they have, and that's been another way. So yeah, these are some of the different interventions at the moment that GGI is implementing, but of course there are many other partners that are working together with the government of Rwanda and different other stakeholders to enhance readiness. So it's all part of a larger support program.
Yeah. Now, coming back to the projects, which sectors in Rwanda have the strongest potential for carbon markets projects?
There are several sectors, but I think I'll just maybe highlight three. I think really critical sectors would be energy, agriculture, and waste. Energy is very exciting. It offers the largest mitigation potential, but also a diversity of type of projects, carbon projects. The energy sector, I think in 2022, when we look at the baseline for the current climate action, contributed about 18% of emissions. And when we look at the future projections by 2035, emissions from the energy sector will represent about 34%. So quite a huge progression there. And we're seeing the fastest emission growth linked to energy use. So what are we talking about? We're talking about, energy use in road transport, the petrol, that we're using in our vehicles to move around. We're talking about the energy we're using in buildings, in industries, in tea factories, which are critical for the economy, in construction. So there's quite a wide range of projects there, whether it's on the supply side, looking at promoting renewable energy, hydro, solar projects, but on the demand side also, how do we reduce energy use and shift towards cleaner solutions such as e-mobility or clean cooking, which was also used as an example earlier, and energy efficiency solutions in buildings, in the industry sector. So there's quite a lot there in the energy space in terms of projects that offer high potential for mitigation and other co-benefits. Agriculture, of course, is critical. Agriculture is the backbone of the Rwandan economy, but it's also the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Rwanda. So we're mainly talking about methane emissions from livestock rearing, and so projects that support improved manure management, composting, but also projects in agriculture that help store carbon in the soil and in our trees. So agroforestry projects, terracing, and the like. These are also other areas and other types of projects that are critical. And lastly, waste, which is is and also an equally important sector. 13% of total emissions, greenhouse gas emissions in Rwanda, come from the waste sector. And so we're looking at different projects here, landfill gas recovery, composting again, technologies like mechanical biological treatment, which GGI has also been promoting for quite some time in Rwanda. So these three sectors, I would say, are important. But maybe just if I could expand on a final note on this, these three sectors are important not only because they offer great potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but also because of the co-benefits. Yes. These are sectors where, in the waste sector, for instance, some of the carbon projects can facilitate technology transfer. When we talk about things like mechanical biological treatment, these are solutions that don't exist today in Rwanda. So when we look at carbon financing in Article 6, it can bring financing for projects that are new, that drive technological innovation in the country. When we talk about agroforestry and agriculture, of course, we're talking about livelihoods, livelihoods of women and rural communities. So there's huge opportunities there, not just for emission reduction, but creating green jobs, creating livelihood opportunities, bringing technology, and also private sector participation. Like I said, some of these projects will have to be led by the private sector, and so it opens up an opportunity for private sector to be engaged in the green economy as well. So there's a wide range of benefits from these various projects in these three sectors.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Faustin, how do carbon markets connect to Rwanda's climate commitments and green growth strategy?
Yeah, thank you very much. As my colleague Caroline said, the carbon market is pertaining to our commitment through the Paris Agreement. We have committed to reduce 53% of our emissions by 2035, which means that reducing emissions can come from domestic resources or international funded activities. So those international funded activities are eligible for carbon market. So in the case of Rwanda, when we are talking about the compliance carbon market, that's where we are saying that it's one of the sources of climate finance, where we can do activities and trade those emissions. So as she said, we have different sectors which are contributing to our economy, but in other words, contributing to the reduction of emission, including the energy sector and agriculture sector. Those sectors are contributing not only to reduce emission, but also to build the resilience. But in terms of green growth and climate resilience strategy, you have a strategy of 2050. And in that strategy, again, carbon market is one of the areas we are targeting to get some of the climate finance or climate finance resources. So how is it linked with Rwanda? Maybe I can introduce how is it done in the country. So we have what we call designated national authority, which is the competent authority to regulate the carbon market. In terms of Rwanda is the REMA. And whoever has a project has to submit the project idea note, a summary of the project to REMA. Then after submitting the project idea note to REMA, REMA can assess and give a letter of non-objection. Then after getting a letter of non-objection, they can go and do the project proposal or the detailed proposal, if I may call it. We call it MAD, mitigation activities, design document, MAD. And then once you submit again to REMA, they can give the authorization. So that's how we are dealing with it. But REMA again comes in to avoid what we call double counting. Once we have traded the emissions, we cannot come back again and report them among the 53% we are intending to reduce. Okay. That's why we say through REMA as designated national authority, we avoid the double counting as well, while authorizing all the emissions to be traded. So the linkage between carbon market and green growth is to help us to get the additional climate resources and also to reduce emissions.
Now, coming on the policy side of framework, what key policies of framework are already in place to support the carbon market participation, and how does it ensure fairness between the government, investors, and local communities as well?
Yeah, thank you. The main policies we have been highlighted. The one is the NDC, the National Determined Contribution, is the one which is stipulating how much carbon emissions we are intending to reduce. And it is also showing the non-domestic funding, which is again eligible for carbon trade. The second policy is, of course, the Green Growth and Climate Resilience Strategy, which is stipulating who is doing what in terms of reducing emissions in different sectors. The third one, which is very practical, is the Carbon Market Framework, which is stipulating the procedure of accessing or of doing the carbon trade in the country. It is stipulating the institutional framework. It is stipulating, again, the legal framework, which roles protecting those who are in the carbon market. And again, when you are talking about trade, you are talking about beneficiaries, community, and carbon buyers and traders. This market is built on two things. The carbon market is built on trust and transparency. So when we are talking about trust, how do we build trust? We need to have the conducive environment to operate in. For instance, laws which are backing the trade. We need to talk about the, apart from laws, procedures which are very clear. Who does what and when. So in that case, in Rwanda, that's why we have a cross-sectoral board which is made up by different representative, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Finance, Private Sector Federation, representative of civil society, and others. So that board is the one taking the final decision. And then we have also REMA, which is acting as the secretariat to that board, which is after taking decision, then REMA communicate the decision and administer all the activities which are supposed to be done. In terms of transparency, we have started building what we call a carbon registry, which will help carbon traders, carbon buyers, and the government, at least to track online how much carbon are we trading, are coming from which sector, and then from there, from that carbon registry, it can also again help us to track whether we are avoiding the double counting I talked about. So trust is very important, and then transparency is the second.
Now, Ms. Caroline, Global Green Growth Institute has been working with other countries, as you mentioned, both buyers and sellers. How has Rwanda's progress been since you started working with Rwanda? And what lessons can Rwanda learn from other countries where carbon markets are advanced?
I think Rwanda, as mentioned, is one of the forerunners because it established its carbon market framework very early on, 2023. It also has quite ambitious climate action, NDC targets. And the country also has a very long-standing experience through the Rwanda Green Fund and other mechanisms of accessing climate finance. It's very active in international negotiations as well. So there's quite a lot that Rwanda is doing to prepare itself and to access carbon financing and to engage meaningfully in carbon markets under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. Of course, there's still always a lot more we can do. And there's a lot that we can learn also from many other countries. And I think those lessons are already being integrated. But one important lesson is around strategic timing. As of 2024, at the COP in Baku, all of the rules and procedures linked to Article 6 were clarified. So that means that from 2024 onwards, there was no more uncertainty around Article 6. All the rules and regulations, everything is clear for people to engage actively in carbon markets under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. So that means that we are seeing now a bit of a rush and different countries trying to compete and position themselves. So an important lesson learned is the need for early market entry, early market engagement. And I think Rwanda is already doing that with the framework that was adopted a year before these rules were confirmed in Baku. Beyond early market entry, what's important, just to the point that DDG made also, is about having credibility very early on and making sure that you're preserving your reputation in the global markets. Many countries we've seen rushed to sell credits and that created reputational damage. And so one of the ways to avoid that reputational risk is to avoid the risk of overselling. You know, Article 6 offers a lot of benefits, but if you are not strategic about what you're authorizing, you might end up, and as some countries have learned the hard way, overselling and then finding that you're compromising your ability to meet your own climate targets. So an important lesson here is around being very strategic about what projects get approved, prioritizing quality over quantity. And I think this is a position Rwanda has had for a very long time, given that it's a small country also compared to maybe the likes of Kenya or Ghana or Ethiopia, who are larger economies. Rwanda has always positioned itself on that niche sort of market, focusing on quality over quantity. So what does that mean in terms of projects? Is really looking at projects that are transformational, the high-hanging fruits, avoiding the low-hanging fruits, going for the high-hanging fruits that will bring about largest mitigation potential, transformational impact, the technology transfer, really leveraging carbon finance as a way to implement the NDCs and not necessarily fund projects that might not be additional. There are projects that could be funded through other channels than carbon financing. So that's an important lesson, I think, from some countries who may be rushed, and so minimizing that overselling risk. Another very important lesson, and there's also experience here in Rwanda, is on the importance of benefit sharing mechanisms, making sure that carbon projects benefit communities, particularly rural communities, grassroots level, because their backing, their support is crucial for some of these projects to be successfully implemented and sustained over time. So, you know, in Rwanda, we have experience with different benefit sharing mechanisms from tourism revenue, for instance. We're looking strategically at how the country can come up with a benefit sharing mechanism for carbon revenues from these projects will be also quite crucial. So quite a lot of lessons, a lot that Rwanda is already doing to prepare itself. But it's a journey, of course, and we're very much excited to be part of that and see how we can support in any way possible.
Now, Mr. Faustin, we're talking about opportunities for Rwanda in carbon markets. What can private investors do, or how can they tap into these opportunities?
Thank you very much. This is an interesting question. What a private operator can do. First of all, before thinking about the market or the money, think about what can you do to reduce emissions in the country. We talked about the energy sector. When you see some of the activities, for instance, when you put in place a hydropower dam, which is generating electricity with the zero emission, from there you can start thinking about a carbon market, because you have done something which is reducing emission, and again, you can then work on that. The second step after doing that activity is to know what are the rules and regulations of the carbon market in place. As I said, we have the carbon market framework, which is stipulating who is doing what and when. Apart from the rules, you also need to approach the competent authority, and they introduce to you the options available, and they give you advice depending to what you are investing in. And also they give you full information on the carbon market in the country and also at international level. Then step number 4 is to start doing it. We have, as she said, we are still developing capacity for different levels, for project operators, for government officials, but the basic information is there to start with. Yep.
Coming back, still on the partnerships, how important are partnerships in making carbon markets successful? Because it's not a one thing or a one-person thing to do.
Yes, partnerships are really critical. I mean, this is what underpins Article 6. It's all about cooperation and partnership between countries. So there's partnerships at that level. There's also different partnerships with the private sector, as was highlighted. Private sector project developers play a key role in coming up with some of these carbon projects. And so making sure that you have different stakeholders, the private sector is fully on board, different ministries, you know, authorizing Article 6 transactions requires collaboration across multiple institutions, multiple sectors, and even academia has a role to play in this, in building capacity. We need more carbon market experts in Rwanda. We need partnerships with the media. You have a critical role to play. Sometimes there are sensationalizing articles around carbon markets, so really debunking what is true from false, what are the opportunities, what are the risks. It's not a silver bullet, it's not a panacea. There are opportunities, but there are also risks. So this is what we're trying to do also with our work at GGGI, is how do we ensure that stakeholders have the knowledge, are equipped with all the information needed so that they can go into this knowing exactly what are the opportunities and what are the risks. And so that requires partnerships with different stakeholders broadly, and yeah.
Yeah. Now, still on that, GGI is an international organization and is working with various countries around the globe. Now, what role do international investors play in scaling these projects?
International investors, well, first of all, it's important to see that the investment will come from these countries, right? So at GGI, we have the Carbon Transaction Facility, which has a readiness component. So the work we're currently doing around building readiness is funded by that readiness facility. But then we have individual trust funds where we have buyers or investors that are waiting for projects. And why did we create this additional carbon trust fund is because we realized that when we conducted a survey amongst our member countries, we realized that the seller countries like Rwanda felt like they didn't have the knowledge, the skills, the confidence to engage in carbon markets. And when we looked at the buyers and the investors, they also had challenges. They also felt that they were struggling to find high environmental integrity projects. And so the role of our facility is to bring these buyers and sellers under one roof to reduce the transaction costs. And this carbon financing that can come from these trust funds essentially can support the implementation and scaling up of carbon projects which would not be able to be financed otherwise. I think that's an important point to note. Sometimes we get overly excited about carbon financing. Under Article 6, we need to demonstrate what we call additionality. So investors will only come in to support projects that are additional. That means that you need to demonstrate that you cannot finance this project through other means of financing other than carbon financing under Article 6. So these investors, these buyers are coming in to support projects that cannot be funded, that are catalytical. And there's also an opportunity, if countries are very strategic about carbon financing, they can leverage that carbon financing from the investors to catalyze even more mitigation activity. So it's important to note that these investors, they come in, yes, they're looking at these individual projects potentially, but as a seller country, you have to position yourself strategically so that you're not over-relying on carbon financing. So how are you leveraging that carbon financing, blending it with other sources to have even larger impact and more sustained impact. So it's important to look at this investment in a broader context as well. And it's only in that way that this investment can be catalytical. Otherwise, you might end up just funding a single project or funding a project that might not be additional. So there's an opportunity there. Yes, the investors play a role, but the seller country has to be very strategic about how it positions itself as well, so that the benefits really accrue to the country and to the communities. So for Rwanda also, as a seller country, it's important to be very strategic about how carbon financing under Article 6 is leveraged to advance its own priorities.
Yes, Mr. Faustin, we just talked about what the private sector needs to do. But again, what are the steps that these developers need to follow to take part in carbon markets? Whom do they contact? What are the requirements?
Thank you very much. For the process and procedure for the carbon market, as I said, the entry point is REMA, which is the designated national authority. That's the first step, and you get information. Then you can also get it from the website of REMA and the website of Ministry of Environment. After getting the information, the first step to apply is to submit what you call project idea note, the PIN. The PIN complies of generic information of what you're intending to do and at which extent you are going to do it. Then after getting the non-objection of that PIN, you go back and then develop a full proposal Now you go into details. If you are going to distribute, for instance, the energy-saving cook stoves, you are going to do details. How much of cook stove are you going to distribute? Where exactly? And how are you going to monitor the distribution? How are you going to monitor the emissions avoided during the when they are using the cook stove? After putting all of those details, including the MOU or the agreements you have with different districts where you're going to distribute, then after submitting that, we give you a letter of approval. After getting the letter of approval, you go ahead and start the implementation of the project. You do the monitoring, and we do also the monitoring, and you commission what we call independent verifiers. Independent verifiers comes, those are the international companies which are accredited to do the verification of emissions. When they come to a project and do the verification, they give you the proof of verification. Then you submit it to REMA once again. Then we give you letter of authorization, which is again the final stage which can allow you then now to give it to someone and accept that those credits are allowed to be transferred. So that's where people mainly start connecting with the buyers. But there are two ways. There are some buyers who give you the advance payment, and you do the activity I talked about. And when you get to that level, then they can get reimbursed, or they can give you the remaining. There are also some buyers who, some people who use their own money and reach that level, and then they trade the carbon. So that's the process. But recently, Rwanda, through a ministerial instruction, has issued what we call carbon market fees. Initially, when we started the carbon market, there was no fee charged, but after passing all the regulations related to Article 6 to carbon market in general, then we started thinking about the fees. So we have what we call administration fees. Those are fees which are paid just for administration purposes to facilitate the work to be done. For the project registration and issuance of non-objection letter, you pay $1,500 US here in Rwanda. That's a fee for registration and non-objection letter. But to open an account on that carbon registry, also you need to pay a fee, an non-refundable fee of $1,000 US. We have also another fee, which is issuance of letter of approval. As I have been highlighting steps, when we are going to issue the letter of approval, then you pay $3,000 US. Those are fees comparing to other fees in the region, in Rwanda we tried to have minimal or less comparing to other fees in the region, comparing to Kenya, Zimbabwe, and others. They are charging a lot. But for Rwanda, we said, let's start small. Then after marketing the country, after doing our best, then we can see what the market dictates. Others, they had another approach of saying, okay, let's start high so that we can avoid all of those people who just wasting our time. There are some people who come but who are not serious, who want just to test and see if it can work. And looking at the methodologies, at technologies, at everything which is needed to assess and approve a project up to the end, it is really costly. So those are the fees, but also you talked about the benefit sharing. So in terms of Rwanda, we have 30% of the revenues. For instance, when you are going to plant a forest using the land of the community. So the mandatory community revenue sharing, they need to get 30%. That's the minimum. But it is upon negotiation. If you are willing to give above, it's okay. But the minimum is 30%. So those are the main fees we are charging. But the most important is not about charging fees. The most important is giving a quality service to project developers. That's what will make difference from other countries. Because for us, we have been proactive and developed the carbon market framework as among the first countries in Africa. We are among the first who adopted the carbon market framework. Just in that framework of having the trust and transparency. Because when you have a clear and transparent carbon market framework, even the price of your credits goes high. So the price of carbon credits goes hand in hand with the transparency. So that's why we insisted. We didn't start with the fees. We started with the procedure, the clear procedure. Then after that, we introduced minimal fees just to allow people to work. And then we are trying together with partners like GI and others to build the capacity or at different levels at our staff of REMA, staff of Rwanda Green Fund, because all of those fees which are being charged are deposited to the account of Rwanda Green Fund. And again, that's another uniqueness of Rwanda. People are depositing that money to Rwanda Green Fund so that Rwanda Green Fund can reinvest again that money to build the resilience of this country and again have other projects which are reducing additional emissions. So that in a nutshell, that's the procedure. If you are an investor, please don't think that it's a complicated process, even though we have different steps, but it is very clear on which step in our framework it is stipulating at this stage you need to submit what, to who, and when. During the assessment, we assess against the criteria, which those criteria are known. You can even assess yourself if you are going to get the rate of non-objection or not. Then, after assessing, we give you what you have to do to get, and then we can do business. Before Paris Agreement, during the Kyoto Protocol era, countries didn't have the responsibility of monitoring, the responsibility of accompanying the project proponent. They used just to give letter of non-objection, then it goes to the convention. But nowadays with the Paris Agreement, we have, especially for 6.2, we have control from first step to the last step. And again, to fully maximize the opportunity we have, the country has initiated the bilateral agreements so that our project developers can at least get a framework to sell the credits at a high price, but with a clear framework. As of today, we have a bilateral framework with Singapore. We have issued a call for proposal, and we have established a joint committee between Singapore and Rwanda, which is working to assess and approve projects eligible for that bilateral agreement. So I want to call upon different people who didn't manage to get at least the call. Please, you can get the call on the REMA website, on the Ministry of Environment website, and then you can respond to the call and be part of that journey. Thank you.
This is an insightful conversation, but we are coming to an end of this conversation. But I would like to ask one question to Ms. Caroline Reyes. As the Global Green Growth Institute, what message would you like to give? We are talking about awareness, explaining to people what this is. What message would you like to give before we close this conversation?
I think the key message is that Rwanda is ready. There's lots of opportunities. There's lots of tools, guidelines available as well. We have a practical guidance document that provides more details. We have our awareness raising campaign, which I invite people to be engaged with. And then we are also always, our door is always open. You can reach out to us. I would be happy to share more about what are the opportunities and how you can be actively engaged in carbon markets through the project that we have together with REMA and the government of Rwanda. So the main message is really build that awareness, stay informed, stay engaged. And yeah, we're always here to support and to partner with the government of Rwanda and other key stakeholders to ensure that carbon markets benefit the country first and foremost, and enables it to access the financing it needs for its transformation, economic transformation, and climate action.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, this is the end of today's conversation. I hope you've been able to learn as much as I learned, and tonight's conversation has highlighted not only the importance of carbon markets, but also the real opportunities they present for Rwanda's sustainable future, from strengthening climate action to unlocking green investment. It is clear that awareness, collaboration, and readiness are key to success. I would like to thank our guests, Ms. Caroline Reyes from the Global Green Growth Institute. Thank you for making time for Rwanda Television.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Faustin Nyazikwiye, thank you so much for joining us today. He's the Deputy Director General at REMA.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. For more discussions like this, stay tuned to Rwanda Television and join us next on the 360 Degrees talk show. My name is RwandaTV. It's been a pleasure to be with you.